What's up, everyone? My name is Rodney, and this is Shedskin Ideas, where I discuss game ideas, functions, mechanics, and new ways of creating game modes or even playing with others online. Just my own original ideas that hopefully inspire and innovate gaming. So, the last thing we talked about was status and relationships and weapons, things along that nature. So if you haven't seen part 3, please do so. Hopefully, we finish all my slides today. And when I'm finished, I'll be creating a in-depth document that will be of in more detail of this game called Conquer to be King. So let's start. So the kingdom economy. The economy is affected by work, resources, trade, war, prices, shortages, debt, and royal assistance. A strong economy gives the kingdom more options. Trade negotiation. Kingdoms can negotiate resources instead of only taxes. A mining kingdom might trade ore for food. Trade reflects regional strengths and weaknesses. The voting interface. Voting appears like an official document. Players choose between options such as accept, reject, counteroffer, import, conserve, trade, or prepare for war. Kingdom negotiation. One kingdom proposes, the other kingdom accepts, rejects, or counters. Failed negotiation can lead to tension, formal duels, or war. Status weight government. Higher status increased political influence. Kings, nobles, council members, knights, and citizens may have different voting weight or access. There are skills like insight. Insight helps players understand consequences. A high insight player may see economic effects, resource warnings, and likely outcomes before voting. War intelligence. Military knowledge helps reveal the battlefield advantages, terrains, cliffs, seasons, formations, and enemy weaknesses can influence strategic decisions. Regional war. War begins within regions. Players choose fronts such as east, west, north, or south. Uneven splits are possible and can create major consequences. So, a brief rundown on what I've said is that when you're playing, you'll get something along the lines that looks like a letter, a notification. And it's the kingdom asking you, what do you believe we should do? And all the players in your kingdom have a say. When you start ranking up and start getting status, your vote can be worth more. So the kingdom and the consequences are heavily influenced by the decisions that the citizens make. Battlefield servers. Large battles are divided into multiple battle instances. Each battle contributes to the overall war percentage. The final war results in aggregation or aggregated. So let's just say there are 100 players in a kingdom, and there's 4 kingdoms in a region. In that region, when you go to war, you get to choose where you're going to go. If you're in the top left corner, your options for war are it is or are against the kingdoms to the right of you and south of you, not diagonal. Out of those 100 players in the kingdom, they get to decide what front they go to. So, say I want to fight in the north, um, and another player says I want to fight to the east. Each area is going to have a different environment. Some players may choose because of the environment, or some just decide I'm just going to go to this battlefield here. And we'll just say, for the sake of explaining this, that out of the 100 players, 10 players from each kingdom goes to war. So similar to how Battle Royale has 100 players, it would be 20 players. So it would break that down as much as possible. And depending on the win ratio, we'll say 50% of players go to the the two options that you have. So evenly balanced battlefield. If the North ends up winning against the East 60% of the time, that's the 60%. And if it wins 25% of the time to the South, that's a 25% win, meaning 75% of the wins were uh, from the from the South. These percentages are going to affect the overall damage to your kingdom. War consequences. Losing kingdoms lose resources. Agriculture, mining, fishery, and hunting can all suffer. The winner does not simply gain everything. Recovery after war. War causes shortages, higher prices, trade needs, loans, repairs, work, and political pressure. This makes recovery part of the gameplay. The Royal Kingdom. Actually, before I jump into the Royal Kingdom, when you win against another kingdom, you're not taking their resources, you're damaging them. So if the total damage of a kingdom was at a certain percent, then the players would go back to their kingdom and they would have to rebuild. So it's not that they lose resources, but their work development has been interfered with. And with agriculture, it takes time to harvest. So if you have a kingdom that has done really well with agriculture, a lot of that work that you put into it goes away. So you have to restart. You have to go back to the fields, plow, and with the special skills that help with the job related duties, that can help your recovery speed. But no kingdom gets benefited from this except for the fact that the other kingdom is put in a position where they have to make do and find ways to recover, which may be to trade, make deals, increase taxes, lower taxes, work really hard, or even ask for loans from the royal kingdom. The royal kingdom. The royal kingdom is the central power. It controls, influences military force, royal knights, high society, restricted access, and the strongest political hierarchy. Royal Kingdom Dungeon. The Royal Dungeon has around 50 floors, and as I mentioned, a regular dungeon in a region has 30. It is larger, more dangerous, and more exclusive than regional dungeons. It does not need to follow the exact same shrinking mage structure. It's it's open to more creative dungeon exploration. Royal Dungeon Access. The crown gatekeeps the dungeon. Becoming a royal knight may allow entry, but rank determines how deep the player is allowed to go. Access itself becomes a privilege. Royal Dungeon Fear. Regional dungeon mastery does not guarantee royal dungeon mastery. The players start unfamiliar again. Routes are unknown, enemies are stronger, and royal knights' lives are limited. Power creates privilege. Strengths earn rank, rank earns privilege, privilege grants deeper access grants greater power. Eventually, the system that restricts the player may help create someone strong enough to challenge it. Multiple forms of power. Power includes magic, combat, equipment, wealth, profession, knowledge, reputation, relationships, military status, politics, and kingdom strength. Conquer is not about one level number. No single correct build. Players can become workers, warriors, mages, merchants, dungeon experts, nobles, leaders, royal knights, or rulers. Different paths create different kinds of power. Why the game takes time. The game is intended to unfold over a long period. The player's lives through work, school, war, politics, dungeons, relationships, and power struggles. A 2 year progression target gives the world time to develop history. One of the things that I thought a cool way of experiencing a game is long term and with multiple players, online players, a community, but the game changes. I mentioned how there are games like Civilization that just continue, and then there's regular story modes from RPGs that have an end to it. What I wanted is a game where you create your own story, and after I finish making these PowerPoint videos, I do intend to talk about more in depth of the history of the game. So to break it down is I want a game where variables create different outcomes and that there's no particular route or direction to complete the game. Meaning, when the game is done with on your end, you create your own story, and the history that has happened in the game is one of a kind. If players, let's just say, and this is not how it's intended, but we'll say 2 years is the time limit to make progress. And then they restart it in another 2 years for another 2 years. It would not be the exact same history. So the the intention was to create a game where history is unknown and that we all create it together. Final philosophy. Conquer is not just about reaching the end. It is about what happened while becoming powerful enough to reach it. Your kingdom, choices, friends, enemies, mistakes, victories, and rise. Um, and rise to become, well, and it becomes your real story. All right, that was it for that. And I guess since I have time here, I'll tell you a little bit more about what I mean by a unique one of a kind history. All the NPCs, major NPCs in the game, have a personality. They're more likely to do something. And depending on how the citizens do, the player, affects where where and how or what that NPC will do next. When one of the royal members die, someone's going to have to fill that space. Now, how do we decide who fills that space? Which high status NPC will get that? When one spot slot opens up, one fills it, leaving another slot open, which leaves a trickle down effect, which in result creates these moments where if a certain NPC fills in that slot, that NPC, while they're while all the kingdoms have special NPCs, there's 4 kingdoms in a region. If we'll say Kingdom A ends up filling that spot, Kingdom A's personality is different from B, C, and D, and also may not get along with uh, A, B, C, D, or uh, Royal Council 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. It might get along with a few. Certain things that you do will decide who fills what slots. And eventually the slots open to a point where you can even fill it. The goal is while the NPCs are automatically reacting to their positions, they're also creating stories. Certain NPCs might do scandals. They might do something to get more power, which in turn affects the region and the kingdom, and you decide how to go about it. Like I said, do we go to war? Do we just increase taxes on them? Do we pull back from the resources that we are trading from them? And all this is going to trickle upwards to how the NPC who's managing your region is going to feel about their position. Other NPCs are going to see the position he is in. Some might try to take advantage of his desperation or even see him as a threat, a powerful threat that needs to be taken away, or even know, knowing that that region may be the best region for, or it might want to get a good relationship to try to get more resources. Well, it was awfully shorter than I thought it was going to be. The next document I'm going to create is a more in depth. Let's see what we got here. Go here. Oh, no. I'm still getting used to all this. It's kind of fun, kind of frustrating. But this coming Labor Day, I'm hoping to make some major upgrades where I don't have to do everything on a small laptop. That's extremely outdated. Oh, I guess I am here. I've been having to jump back and forth with different accounts. It's really annoying, but I need to have all accounts. Uh, this may not be the one. This is the document that. Yep, this is the one where I was going to start. Oh, okay. So there's a document. I hope y'all find it humorous. Me on my journey of content creating. Honestly, gets me a little annoyed. The speed is an issue. Let's just go here. I'll do a little reveal. This document establishes the social progression system that exists outside of combat and politics. It explains how players become recognized through noble society, how formal events operate, how conversations influence reputation, and how knowledge becomes a meaningful part of character development without becoming a mandatory progression mechanic. The purpose of these systems is to create leaders who are respected not only for their strength but also for their character, education, and social presence. The design philosophy. Combat alone should never determine leadership. Likewise, simply studying books should never determine leadership. Instead, leadership is built from many experiences throughout the world. A respected future ruler should be capable of fighting, working, leading, communicating, understanding history, understanding people, conducting themselves professionally. Social events exist to reveal those qualities. Noble society. The noble society system represents the formal gathering of civilization. Unlike military campaigns, these events exist to build relationships rather than defeat enemies. Their purpose include establishing friendships, creating political connections, meeting influential NPCs, improving noble recognition, demonstrating etiquette, representing one's kingdom. These events become increasingly prestigious throughout the player's journey. 4 levels of noble society. Kingdom gathering. Held within a player's own kingdom, attendance is available to respected local knights and citizens. The purpose local celebrations, meeting officials, building community reputation. Requirements are relatively low. Regional gatherings. The 4 kingdoms within a region gather together. Purpose include trade, diplomacy, friendly competition, building regional relationships. Attendance requires greater military or political recognition. Royal gatherings. Held within the royal capital, receiving an invitation is considered a tremendous honor. Attendees include kings, governors, council members, distinguished knights, scholars, merchants, and royal officials. Simply receiving an invitation demonstrates that player's accomplishments have been noticed. And that's the gist of it for right now. So, thank you for listening and joining in. And give me just a little bit of time. I've already written so much. I have so much material. It just needs to be organized. And I would like to create an index so that way it's easier for those people who are interested to be able to read. I'm going to have to find out how to make it a document that anyone can access. So I hope you're interested. Thank you very much. This is Rodney with Shedskin Ideas. Have a wonderful day.